This is Sergio Betts from Westwood, Los Angeles, and this episode is a deeper UCLA Women's Basketball National Championship breakdown focused on how Dawn Staley's South Carolina will try to disrupt UCLA's structure through turnovers, matchups,
physicality, rebounding, defensive pressure, paint control, and Final Four pressure. This is not a soft preview. This is not one of those shallow title game conversations where people just say, both teams are good, both teams are tough, both teams have great coaches, and then leave it there. No, that is not enough for this stage. This game is about structure. This game is about whether UCLA can stay itself for 40 minutes when South Carolina is trying to bend every possession away from control and into discomfort. Dawn Staley's style is physical, defense first, and paint first. South Carolina does not want this game clean. They do not want this game smooth. They do not want UCLA flowing easily from one action to the next. They want catches to feel crowded. They want dribbles to feel heavy. They want every rebound to feel like work. They want every post entry to feel like a risk. They want every possession to feel uncomfortable. That is why this game is not just about stars. This is about turnovers and matchups. This is about Final Four pressure becoming championship pressure. This is about whether UCLA can handle a defense first, paint first, physical first team without becoming sloppy, rushed, or emotionally stretched. The first message of this whole episode is simple. UCLA has to understand the kind of game South Carolina wants. Because if you do not understand the game the opponent wants, then at the time you recognize it, you are already playing their game. South Carolina wants to bring the game into a space where the floor feels crowded. They want UCLA's guards to feel like the entry is not there. Then the reversal is late. Then the next drive is forced. And the shot clock gets lower. And the possession becomes one mistake away from collapse. They want Lauren Betts to see bodies. They want Kiki Rice to feel heat. They want Gabriella Hackaz to have to make hard reads in traffic. They want Gianna Neepkens to catch with less comfort. They want Charlotte Slager-Walker to have to absorb contact and still make clean decisions. They want Angela Dudalik to have to connect the game under pressure. That is what South Carolina wants. So if UCLA wins this, it would not be because South Carolina failed to bring that style. It will be because UCLA absorbed it and still stayed itself. Now, let's get into the first major theme, and that is turnovers. This game can flip on turnovers faster than people want to admit. Because turnovers in a game like this are not just empty possessions. They are emotional giveaways. They are rhythm killers. They are transition openings. They are the quickest way to let South Carolina feel the game getting heavier and more tilted in its direction. So when I say turnovers matter, I am not just saying the box score matters. I am saying the shape of the game matters. Kiki Rice cannot get casual with the ball. Charlize cannot be loose at the point of attack. Gabriella cannot force crowded window passes trying to create something that is not there yet. Gianna cannot drift into possessions where the ball swings side to side and nobody touches the paint. Lauren's entry passes have to be clean, on time, and thrown like they actually matter. Because the post entry in this game is not a little detail. It is the game. If UCLA cannot enter the ball cleanly, then suddenly the offense starts living 20 feet from the basket, and that is exactly where South Carolina wants them. If UCLA catches, hesitates, and resets, that helps South Carolina. If UCLA sees the entry and waits too long, that helps South Carolina. If UCLA drives with no spacing behind it and no outlet angle, that helps South Carolina. If UCLA over-dribbles into help, that helps South Carolina. Every lazy possession in this game is a little gift, and UCLA cannot give gifts away in a national championship game against a team built to turn those gifts into momentum. So, the turnover conversation is not just take care of the ball. It is bigger than that. It is knowing where the pressure is coming from before it arrives. It is knowing the second defender is coming before the trap shape fully forms. It is knowing the weak side help is shrinking the window before the pass is thrown. It is knowing when the best play is to reverse quickly instead of trying to force the read that looked open 2 seconds earlier. That is grown possession basketball, and UCLA has to play grown possession basketball for 40 minutes. Now we move to Lauren Betts and the matchup inside. Lauren Betts is the center of UCLA's identity, but this is not a game where give it to Lauren by itself solves the problem. That is too basic. This is Lauren against layers, Lauren against size, Lauren against activity, Lauren against physicality, Lauren against length, Lauren against bodies loading in from the perimeter, Lauren against hands digging down from guards, Lauren against help defenders trying to make the first dribble feel late and a second move feel crowded. So what does UCLA have to do? They have to feed Lauren with purpose. Not just feed her, but feed her with purpose. That means deep seals, not casual catches. That means early duck-ins, not waiting until the defense is already set. That means guard penetration before the entry sometimes, so the help has to make a choice. That means reversing the ball fast enough to move the shell before trying to throw it in. That means when South Carolina loads bodies toward Lauren, the weak side has to be alive and ready. Because if Lauren is touching the ball and the weak side is standing still, South Carolina wins that possession structure. But if Lauren touches the ball and the weak side is cutting, lifting, spacing, relocating, and showing target hands, now the defense has to declare itself. That is what UCLA needs. They need South Carolina to have to answer questions. Because if South Carolina gets to be the team asking all the questions, UCLA is playing reactively. Lauren has to make South Carolina choose, guard her straight up and risk real damage, send help and risk second side punishment, crowd the lane and risk Gianna, dig from the perimeter and risk Kiki re-entering the action, or Gabriella attacking the tilted floor. That is how Lauren becomes more than a scorer in this game. She becomes the force that makes the rest of the offense possible. Now we go to Kiki Rice, because Kiki's role in this game is not just talent. It is order. Kiki has to govern the game. That is the word, govern. Not just play in it. Not just appear in it. Not just make 1 or 2 big plays and disappear inside the rest. Kiki has to govern tempo, entry timing, shot quality, and emotional control. Because South Carolina wants guards to feel rushed. South Carolina wants point guards to feel like the first advantage has to be forced. South Carolina wants the ball handler to think, I have to make something happen now. And when that thought wins, the possession usually dies. Kiki has to resist that. She has to touch the paint when it is real, not when it is fake. She has to see the pressure and still keep the game calm. She has to know when to get Lauren the ball. She has to know when to use Lauren as a decoy and attack the shift. She has to know when Gianna is clean. She has to know when Gabriella can attack the second closeout. She has to know when the best play is no play at all, except resetting the offense with composure instead of panic. That is the point guard job in this game. Kiki does not have to play fast to play well. Do not confuse speed with control. Do not confuse pace with rush. Do not confuse aggression with forcing. South Carolina wants UCLA to look sped up even when the ball is still technically under control. That is the trap. Kiki has to be the player who refuses to let the game become mentally rushed. Because when Kiki is right, UCLA looks connected. When Kiki is wrong, the whole game can start to feel sideways. Now, let's build out the perimeter around that. Gabriella Yakis has to be an adult in this game. She has to cut hard, rebound hard, defend hard, and make the next pass without drama. This is not a game for unnecessary dribbles. This is not a game for floating around the possession waiting for something fun to happen. This is a game for grown possession value. If Gabriella catches on the second side and the lane is open, attack it. If the closeout is under control, move it. If the offensive rebound is there, go get it. If the body needs to be put on somebody, do it. That is Gabriella's game here. Charlize Legier-Walker has to bring mature guard play. She has to settle the possession space with purpose. drive with purpose, and make the simple read look important. Because in this game, it is important. No loose handles, no drifting into help, no speculative passes into crowded windows. Charlie's has to help UCLA keep adult structure. Gianna Neepkins is the punisher. If Lauren bends the paint and Kiki bends the point of attack, Gianna has to punish the defense for giving even half-clean looks. But Gianna also cannot just become stationary. If South Carolina flies at her on the catch, she has to put it on the floor with clarity. 1 or 2 dribbles, not 5. Attack the closeout, not the whole defense. Move the game, do not overhold the game. That is the difference between useful aggression and self-defeating aggression. Angela Dugalich becomes extremely important because Angela can stabilize a possession without trying to be louder than the possession. She can catch, move it, connect it, and rebound down. In a title game, stability is value.
In the meantime,
Now let's talk about matchups, because this game is not one matchup. It is matchup after matchup after matchup. And UCLA has to win enough of them for long enough. Kiki against South Carolina ball pressure. Noren against front court layers. China against closeout discipline. Gabriella against grown possession physicality. Charlize against crowding and contact. Angela against the need to stabilize and rebound in traffic. Sienna Betts versus exercise moments if those minutes come. Amanda Muse and the rest of the bench in terms of sideline energy, communication, and emotional connection. On the other side, UCLA has to understand what South Carolina's names actually mean on the floor. You mean downhill pressure, control around the ball, clean perimeter looks you cannot lose, strength around the lane, activity on the glass, and real size that has to be dealt with honestly. The matchup conversation is not glamorous. It is this. Who absorbs contact without breaking structure? Who can make the next pass after the defense shows? Who keeps rebounding responsibility even after rotating? Who resists the temptation to try to make a home run play when the clean possession is sitting right there? Who keeps the game under adult supervision? That is how matchups are won in a game like this. Not by who has the prettiest move, but by who keeps the game honest. Now let's talk rebounding, because if UCLA does not rebound, none of the rest of this matters enough. South Carolina wants second chances. They want deflections that turn into broken possessions. They want broken possessions to turn into scrambled possessions. They want scrambled possessions to turn into bodies at the rim. They want bodies at the rim to turn into fouls or offensive rebounds or both. So when UCLA gets the first stop, the possession is not over. That is the rule. The possession is not over until the ball is secured. Lauren has to own space. Angela has to rebound from the help side. Gabriella has to rebound like a forward and not just watch. Kiki has to crack down. Charlize has to rebound down. Gianna cannot leak out early if the board is not controlled. 5 rebounders. That is the demand. Because one of the ugliest ways to lose a title game is to guard hard for 18 seconds and then die on the rebound. South Carolina is exactly the kind of team that will punish that. So UCLA's rebounding has to be physical, early, committed, and collective. Not symbolic, not just putting a hand on someone. Real contact, real box outs, real pursuit, real finish to the stop. Rebounding is also a discipline test. Do you stay with the play after the first contest? Do you keep your body in it after the shot goes up? Do you assume somebody else will get it? UCLA cannot assume anything in this game. They have to take the rebound like it belongs to them. Now let's go to defense, paint control, and not fouling yourself into a mess. South Carolina wants the paint. Dawn Staley's style is paint first. So UCLA has to understand the difference between helping correctly and helping too much. You want bodies in the lane. You do not want panic in the lane. You want the driver to see help. You do not want your help to create easy kickouts because it came from the wrong place at the wrong time. You want your shell connected. You do not want your shell collapsing for no reason. Maybe most important of all, UCLA cannot help South Carolina with cheap fouls. No lazy reach 30 feet from the basket. No swipe down because the driver got a shoulder advantage. No frustration foul after an offensive rebound. No bailout whistle because a defensive angle was lost and the possession had to be rescued with contact. Make South Carolina score over structure. Make them see bodies. Make them finish in traffic. Make them score without UCLA's assistance. Because in a game like this, free throws are emotional fuel. UCLA does not want to fuel a Dawn Staley team by giving away the easiest points on the floor. So UCLA's defense has to be serious, connected, and disciplined. Not passive, not reckless. Serious. That means when the ball goes into the paint, the help is there on time. When the ball kicks out, the closeout is under control. When the shot goes up, the rebound responsibility is immediate. When the drive comes again, nobody is surprised by the second effort. That is how you survive a defense-first, paint-first opponent. You do not complain about the physicality. You answer it with better structure. Now we get to the emotional center of the game, and that is Final Four pressure becoming championship pressure. This is where teams can lose themselves, not because the scheme changed, and not because the matchup changed, but because the moment got bigger than the basketball. UCLA cannot let that happen. UCLA cannot spend the first quarter admiring the stage. UCLA cannot let one turnover become 3 bad possessions. UCLA cannot let one bad whistle turn into 2 minutes of emotional drift. UCLA cannot start slow and act like the game with UC standards. What is it like today, Crystal? This has to be serious from the opening tip. That means the first possession matters. The second possession matters. The first rebound matters. The first entry pass matters. The first closeout matters. The first box out matters. The first timeout matters. Everything matters because championship pressure magnifies details. That is actually why I believe UCLA can win this game. Because if UCLA stays inside the details, this is not impossible. If UCLA protects the ball, if UCLA gets Lauren organized touches, this is not impossible. If Kiki governs the game, this is not impossible. If Gabriella and Charlisa bring adult toughness, if Gianna punishes the clean openings, this is not impossible. If Angela stabilizes the middle of the game, this is not impossible. If the Bruins rebound with 5, this is not impossible. If they finish possessions, this is not impossible. If they do not let South Carolina dictate the emotional temperature, this is not impossible. South Carolina wants to dictate the terms. UCLA has to refuse that. UCLA has to choose structure. UCLA has to choose patience without softness. UCLA has to choose aggression without chaos. UCLA has to choose physicality without fouling itself apart. UCLA has to choose grown possession basketball over rushed possession basketball. South Carolina wants chaos. UCLA has to choose control. So when I close this out, the final message is not complicated. It is demanding, but it is not complicated. Protect the ball. Feed Lauren with purpose. Let Kiki control the temperature of the game. Let Gabriella and Charlize do grown possession work. Let Gianna punish help. Let Angela steady the structure. Rebound like every mess belongs to UCLA. Defend the paint without giving away cheap points. Do not let Dawn Staley's style become the only style on the floor. Above all, do not let the moment become bigger than the discipline. Because if UCLA does that, then this game is there. It is there for them. If they take it, it will not be because the moment was light. It will be because they were stronger than the pressure trying to pull them out of themselves. This is Sergio from Westwood, Los Angeles. UCLA women's basketball has a chance to finish this the hard way, the serious way, the earned way. But they have to protect the game before they can win the game. Go Bruins. I can also give you a second version with even fewer paragraph breaks so it pastes into human AI even cleaner.